Hey folks, Templar here, and welcome to a very special, video I'm going to be doing. Now, as many of you know, I'm heading to Japan in a month, so I figured, to do something a little special on my way to Japan, I'm going to do a top 10 anime video. Now, before we begin, I want to give a few disclaimers. One, this is my list, and it's my thoughts, so there's my opinion, so it is my list. It's not the ultimate one, so forget about that rubbish. And also, I will put some, animes into like double characteristics, like say for example, like Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny, because they are technically the same thing, but it's just an extension of the story. And also I will also put in franchises, so basically there's like multiples that should be in the top 10, but I feel like it would like dilute the list a bit, so they're gonna go in the franchise zone. And also guys, I'm gonna give out spoilers because this is gonna be a very heavy spoiler list, because I'm gonna explain why I like them, but also why I dislike some of them and why they're not in like certain areas. So enjoy the show guys, and let's get on with the countdown. At number 10, we have One Piece. Now, this was a toss-up between One Piece and Naruto. Now, I know a lot of you be thinking, why the hell it is not higher up? Well, before you guys go batshit crazy in the comments, let me explain. The reason why Naruto didn't make the top 10 is quite simple, guys. Filler episode after filler episode after filler episode. It's been a lot of fillers going on with Naruto, so I decided that One Piece will go up because One Piece had good fights recently. The animation has been, okay, questionable, but let's be honest, the recent reveal of Gear 4 in the anime has been absolutely beastly. I mean, come on. Anyone who sees that form, shit is going to go down. And also One Piece has got some of the best fights out there. I mean, the Rob Lucci fight, and also the whole CP9 arc, which is brilliant. Also Buggy's quite funny at times, but he also had a good fight with Luffy. I've also got, the DeRosa arc going on with Luffy and Doflamingo absolutely tearing it up. So in my view, One Piece has got one of the better fights in Naruto. However, One Piece does suffer from a couple of problems. One, its pacing has been always an issue, and also sometimes the animated quality has been, lacking in certain areas. But overall, One Piece is a good show, but it is one of the gripe I do have with the series. It is the main protagonist, Luffy. Now, don't get me wrong, Luffy is a good character, but I feel like, after the time skip and now he's in the new world, you would think you'd get a little more serious, but yet he still acts like a goofball. And I feel like, with the next, big arc coming up, the Zoro arc, which we all know in the manga is kicked off, I really hope that Luffy, finally, later on in the whole One Piece universe, he does get more serious and gets real, because let's be honest, he's got Yonkos and Blackbeard coming up and the Navy. But wait folks, that's my thoughts on that one. Now on to number 9. At number 9, Berserker. Now, as many will know, I've talked about this anime with my good buddy Spinder94, and we've always loved the Berserk series. I mean, let's be honest, it's one of the most dark, gritty animes you're ever going to find, and it has made much impact in its years. However, I feel Berserk really needs to move on with the anime side story, but thankfully we are getting, more, episodes coming this year, so I'm hoping for, more in depth of his character. Now, let's be honest guys, Guts is one, if not the most biggest badasses in the whole anime world, next to probably like Alucard and Zoro. But I do feel like Berserker does need to move on from its golden age arc. But don't get me wrong, the animation is good for its time. I mean, it is a bit dated, let's be honest, but the re-release of the golden arc OVAs does, bring it up to date, and it does look freaking badass. I only hope the new one does follow suit, because if not, well, I think Berserker might not be longer in this list, because let's be honest, its manga counterpart is brilliant. I just only hope its anime side, stays that way. Now to number 8. And number 8, Tank Police and New Dominion Tank Police. Now, many of you might not know this one, but this was created by Shu Masamune, the guy who made, Ghost in the Shell. Now, New Tank Police follows in the distant future where, crime has literally elevated to the point where they're using missiles and downright dirty tactics and cyberization, like cyberpunk and all that. So now the police are now empowered to use very powerful vehicles to combat crime, aka tanks. So basically the story, guys, is following, a woman named Lina Ozaki and Al and the rest of the Tank Police in their wacky adventures to protect the city. Well, of course, they're having problems, maintaining the image, because they are, labeled as worst as criminals for amount of property damage and collateral damage. But this anime, guys, is a very funny, crazy, and downright zany kind of show. I mean, it is worth watching. Unfortunately, it is only, 10 episodes long. I mean, the new Tank Police one is 6 episodes, which is the second half of the whole, saga. And the Tank Police is only a 4, part OVA, but still, it is a very good series to watch, and I do recommend people to watch it. It's funny, it's hilarious. Just only sad thing is it's only had, limited amount of episodes. Anyway, folks, let's move on to number 7. At number 7, folks, we have Slam Dunk. Now, for those who don't know, Slam Dunk is a sports anime. Now, you might be surprised this is on the list, but to be honest with you guys, I've watched Slam Dunk and I've always found it hilarious. The whole story follows Sakuragi, who is a high school romance loser. He's never getting luck with the girls, but then he meets the Honoko and she kind of falls in love with her. But unfortunately, she only likes, men who are like, well, boys actually, but men, you get the gist, who play basketball. And so he decided to take up basketball in order to, impress her, get her on her side. But unfortunately, it doesn't start out well, as he picks a fight with the captain of the team, who turns out to be her brother, and then they have a match and just everything goes badly for Sakuragi. He doesn't have much luck, but after he does get into the team, and as he progresses, he grows into a much better player. He gets a massive rivalry with Rukawa over Honoka, and I think I might have spelled her name right. It could be Haruko. I'm not 100% guys, so don't butcher me on this. But the one thing I like about the series, it's a very good, fun, progressive anime series where you're seeing Sakuragi grow as from being like a punk to more of a mature person. But I do feel cheated in this series, nearing the end where it finishes before they reach the Inter-High tournament. I would have loved to see them compete in it, what it would look like, but unfortunately it didn't. But still guys, this is a fun anime to watch. I do recommend watching it. It is fun, hilarious, and it's just a good comedy mix of fun, sports, seriousness, and comedy. A good balance. Now on to number 6. At number 6, folks, we have Helsing and Helsing Ultimate. Now, the Helsing series has always been one of my top favorites when it comes to, vampires and, monsters. But I feel, Helsing in certain areas, kind of went great and a bit dodgy. Let's start with the anime. Now, if you're going to watch the Helsing OVA, I would recommend the anime first, because the anime does, explain about Ceres, the whole scenario, what's going on. I would recommend watching until, the Club M scene where, the Valentine brothers show up. But I still say watch the whole thing, because Incognito, being a baddie, anime one of that only, was very good, and he did hold up. And also the OVAs in my view book boosted Helsing from being an okay to a badass anime. I mean, the gore, the violence, the bloody battles, I mean, come on, Alucard and Anderson literally stole the show. They're one of the 2 best characters in anime for fights. But I also gotta give one downside to Helsing OVA, well, 2 actually. One, the length of time it took to make it. I mean, 6 years, I mean, Jesus Christ. But also the fact as well, the childish cartoon drawings in some of the scenes, which I thought were not necessary. They just kind of dull the mood, and it just forced comedy when they don't need it. But I do have to say this, guys, in all anime there's one character who is the ultimate badass, and it's not Alucard. Alucard is a badass in his own right. He is the badass, but it is Sir Integra Winbrook Fairgate Helsing. I mean, this woman is a badass through and through. I mean, one if not the most badass female characters in anime. I mean, come on, she literally is ahead of the round table, which is respected by both not only her peers but her enemies. She tells what Alucard says to do, like she literally orders them what to do, and then when she gets into trouble, she literally told a bunch of monsters to say, come at me then with a sword. She was not afraid to fight vampires. To me, she's a badass. But wait, folks, let's tell us number 5. Damn, that Integra's a badass. At number 5, folks, we have Outlaw Star. Now, Outlaw Star is one of these animes that's very, niche. It's basically, if you know it, you like it or not. You know what I mean? But the whole story follows 2 young men named Gene Starwin and Jim Hawkins, and they go on this, job to, acquire money, for their business, and things turn, crazy thanks to some pirates. Now, this anime is very high paced at times, but there are some times where I feel like the pacing does, get erratic at times. But the whole sense of, mysticism, magic, martial arts, this kind of anime is very fun. And plus the fact you're in space. What more do you want? It's hilariously crazy with a lot of, hint of magic and a hint of, mysticism with a lot of fights. I do feel though they should have made a second series, but unfortunately they only made 1. There was meant to be a second series, but never got off the ground. It's a shame, but that kind of happens. And also, you got the crazy aliens, like the, the Kataro, the Unturned 7, who are the pirates, which are, badasses them, right? Because they've all got, like, ridiculous powers. And also, Gene's, prize weapon, the caster, where you can cast magic with a gun. I mean, what more do you want? Anyway, let's head on to number 4. At number 4, folks, we have Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Now, let's be honest, guys, no list will be complete without this, gem of an anime. Because, let's be honest, guys, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z kind of brought anime, to the West. It's one of the most recognized and most well-established, franchises in anime of all time. Now, I'll be honest with you, Dragon Ball, when we saw Goku for the first time, you always thought of him as being, this little kid who couldn't do anything. But when you saw what he could really do, you're thinking, holy hell, this guy can go far. And to be honest with you guys, I've always loved the Dragon Ball series. It's always been good, down to earth, realistic, and fun. When Z came out, Z was, over the top madness. It was hilarious, the evolution of Goku, also bringing in his son and all the other characters. But I do feel, Z kind of, lets the things down. You're like Gohan, who's supposed to be, the prodigal child, is supposed to, be the next, big thing to take over Goku, because he's the son of the world's strongest warrior, Chi-Chi, and also Goku. But, Gohan didn't go any further. And also, some episodes I felt, were dragged a bit. And I felt like they could have, I would just gotten on with it, you know what I mean? Because I felt like they dragged some things. But in all, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z are the best too. Now, as for Super, guys, I am watching it, and I'm a little bit, hit and miss with it at the moment. So, yeah. And as for, Kai, I never liked Kai. And thank God GT is not canon. Thank the Lord it's not. But anyway, folks, let's head on to the top 3. In at number 3, folks, we have the Gundam franchise. Now, the Gundams have always been what I thought like the quintessential anime for, mechs. Because, let's be honest, guys, we all like a good mech battle from now and then. But the one reason why, Gundam has, moved above Dragon Ball is the fact that with Dragon Ball, it's a fantasy, fun martial art thing. But Gundam has, real world implications. How, war, drives people, how it affects people, how it mentally affects them. And it's quite impactful. I have to admit, the Gundam series have got a lot of impactful messages, and they have a lot of impactful episodes. And also, guys, come on, we are coming to see, most of the mech fights, and most of the, soldiers aren't, like just pilots. They are, soldiers as well. They do, covert ops without the mechs. And I do like the Gundams, whole franchise, but there are some I don't like. But the reason why I've decided to make this a franchise, folks, because to be honest, there was like 4 or 5 of them that could have easily made top 10. But I felt like the whole thing as one franchise clump is a good thing. But anyway, folks, let's head to number 2. And number 2, folks, it is Cowboy Bebop. Now, as many of you know, I'm a fan of like space adventures, that. But Cowboy Bebop and me is like the must-see anime. You must see it because it's one of the few animes that makes a very good impression on itself. I mean, the musical scores, the whole musical reference, to the whole series. I mean, the series is about 2 bounty hunters named Jet and Spike. I mean, they go around the galaxy on the Bebop, collecting bounties and all that. But it never goes their way at times. And along the way, they pick up 2 new members of the crew. Well, 3 actually, technically, if you count the dog, Ein, Ed, and Faye Valentine, and the gang go around the galaxy trying to collect bounties. This one's a funny mixed with, seriousness and a very good subtle, tone with the music. I mean, the music is brilliant. A mixture of jazz, rock, country. Most of the episodes have some form of, musical, in their title. I mean, like Honky Tonk Woman, Bohemian Rhapsody, so plenty of musical reference. But also the Sid versus Spike battles. I mean, the Ballad of a Fallen Angel. I know it's halfway through the series, but my god, that fight scene is absolutely earth. The battle, the music, the whole thing is just so together so perfectly. It's like a symphony of a proper battle. But anyway, folks, that's the end of that little, little fest on the fights. Now to number 1. And taking the top spot, folks, is Ghost in the Shell. Now, the Ghost in the Shell franchise has always been one of my favorites because not only for its actions and its cyberpunkness, but also its very, messages and thought-provocative thoughts on, life, our existence, our souls, our humanity. It is a very subtle hints on our, our own humanity and our mortality, but also the action as well, guys. It's well made, well thought out. I mean, the story we all know, we follow Major Kusanagi and the Section 9 guys, and we follow their stories throughout their lives in the, standalone series, which I gotta admit was a brilliant series, the number 1 and 2 series. Well made, well rendered, although the pacing was a little dodgy at some places, but it was well executed. And the movies, well, what more can you say? I mean, number 1 really showed, the whole philosophy about, their ghosts, their souls, their humanity. And the second one showed Bato, he has to deal without the Major and find out his place in the world where he's been left, in a stagnated state. But anyway, folks, that's it for this top 10 list. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's an anime that I have not mentioned or you think that should be in the list, please leave a comment down below. Or if there's an anime I should check out, then leave a comment again. I might have a look at. But anyway, folks, if you like the videos, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later.